Welcome to Las Vegas, where the long journey continues towards crowning a new world champion in poker's richest event. Some top players fell in day one, but here in day two, the remainder of poker's elite are chomping at the bit to win the most coveted prize in poker.
Winning the main event of the World Series is literally the dream of every poker player.
To win the tournament would be the finishing touch to my career.
Today, we'll enjoy the return of some of poker's more familiar faces.
You take the small ones, I'll be getting the big ones.
And see the emergence of new ones.
A kamikaze career, baby.
Now sit back and relax as amateurs and professionals alike sit side by side in hand-to-hand combat today at the Horseshoe.
We're gambling.
Let's play poker.
Welcome to the 2004 World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life. Action has already begun here at the Horseshoe, and young gun Scott Fishman looking to make some noise here in his main event debut. Former world champion Chris Ferguson is being patient. He knows there's a long road ahead to capture the World Championship, $5 million first prize. Hello everybody, I'm Lon McCarron alongside Norman Chad. With almost 2,600 players entered, the tournament directors have been forced to cut the field in half simply because there aren't enough poker tables to go around. So tonight we'll watch part 2 of round 1. And tonight we'll be focusing on Sam Farha. He's at our featured table. He was last year's runner-up, beginning his charge for a title.
Yeah, on day 2 of last year's main event, Lon, Sam Farha was all in with a terrible hand. He survived, and then he took us on a stylish ride all the way to the final table. Now tonight, he begins his attempt to turn runner-up money into first-place money.
There is Sam Farha with probably the most stylish unlit cigarette in poker history. And another heavyweight sitting at the table, John Juanda, 3 World Series of Poker bracelets under his belt. Sammy, one of the most active poker players you'll see at a table, looking at his cards on the Miller High Life Pocket Cam, a Jack 5 suited, and he'll bet 50. Over to Martin Clark, and you look at his King 10 offsuit, and he'll make the call. The blinds at our featured table right now are at 25 and 50.
In Hold'em, 2 players are forced to put chips in before the hand begins. That's a small and big blind, and the blinds go up as the day wears on.
There you look at Ed Smith in the big blind. He has an unsuited Jack 10. Doesn't cost him anything to play, so he will be in the hand. 3 hands to the flop, and we get 3 hearts. Sammy Farha with the flush.
Sammy plays more hands than most good players. He's rewarded here. He will slow play the flush, hoping to induce a bet from one of the other players.
And he does get that from Clark, who bets 200 on a heart draw. And Ed Smith will fold his pair of 10s.
Yeah, Clark actually is a danger to Sammy. You wouldn't know it, but if another heart comes out, Clark would have the better flush with the king.
How much to raise?
600.
Sammy Farha raised 600 to Clark.
Look at his baseball cap. It says fool. I don't know how he got into my closet.
Clark does make the call, foolishly or not. The turn card, a queen of diamonds, no help. Sammy checks.
Sammy going to continue to set the trap and hope to get more chips down the road.
Martin Clark taking his time on this. Well, he's going to check also. And the river's a Jack of diamonds. You see the check mark next to Farha's name. He can only lose if he folds.
Sammy's going to fire now, and he bets 2,000. And the bad news for Clark is that the river gave him a straight. It's going to be hard for him not to call the bet from Sammy.
Cool.
Clark does call it. Sammy shows him the flush and the winning hand.
How does he do it?
Play every hand. Yeah. Right. You can't miss everyone.
Sam Farha comes out firing as usual. Here are the Miller High Life rules for Texas Hold'em. Each player is first dealt 2 down cards. A round of betting then occurs as players decide for the first time if they're in or they're out. Then come the community cards with the flop, the turn, and the river with a round of betting after each. In the end, the best 5-card combination wins the hand and takes the pot. The Horseshoe Casino is busting its seams with poker players in this main event. One of the players who've been here a number of times, Gus Hansen, sitting with veteran Dan Harrington, the 95 champ, who also made the final table last year.
And those 2 guys have quite a contrast in styles. Harrington very tight and solid, and Gus Hansen loves to push, 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 but he's going to sit back right here.
Harrington wins the pot, but there's no celebration. He knows it's a long road to the final table. One player who does not have any experience at reaching the championship table in the main event is Rafe First.
11 minutes, that's what I'm going to try to beat this year.
Rafe ironically had the dubious honor of being the first player eliminated in last year's main event, a moment his friend Phil Gordon reminds him of to this very day.
I told him if he doesn't last at least 12 minutes this year that I may not talk to him until the next World Series of Poker.
It feels horrible when you bust out of the World Series, but there's a special amount of shame, I think, I can say from personal experience, in busting out the very first. What comes around goes around.
He somehow managed to last 7 minutes.
11 minutes.
Okay, 11 minutes. He lasted 11 minutes.
Yeah, where's the timer? It's like, how do you explain to somebody that you just lost $10,000 in 11 minutes?
I mean, to be the first person out of 850 to bust out of a tournament is pretty ridiculous.
I thought about the way I played, that big hand over and over again. And
he said he couldn't get away from it. I'm like, whatever, dude. Just get me coffee and bring me drinks for the next 3 days.
Well, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I'll say that he definitely has given me some grief.
I still kid him about it on almost a daily basis.
My goal is simple, it's to win.
Back to action with Rafe. I think he's been slow playing everything just so he beats last year's mark of 11 minutes. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
Okay, I've officially lasted longer than I did last year. I can start playing. All in. You know what? The good thing about
well, everybody at our feature table still alive in the tournament as well. Craig Hartman in the green hat looking at a couple of hole cards of King.
God, I'm starting to play as many hands as Sam. This is getting awful.
That's scary.
There's some used car salesmanship there, Lon. He's got good cards to play.
It'd be safe to play him against me, though.
I'd love to play those against Sammy. He'll bet 300. Sam pretty much has a target on his back.
Well, because of the celebrity from last year, everybody loves to play against Sammy, and Sammy brings it on because he plays a lot of hands.
John Juanda with 2-8s, and he will make the call. Farha will not play this hand. And actually, a lot of the poker pros are celebrities now, and the newcomers want a piece of them.
Does he work for us?
On the flop, Jawanda picks up a third 8. Hartman's turn to act, and he will bet 500 with the 2 kings.
But the monster flop puts Jawanda in a great position. He's going to raise 1,000.
There's no way that Hartman can put him on those 3 8s. And Hartman will make the call. And on the turn, it's a 10 of hearts. No help now for Hartman, who trails in his hand.
And he fires again. He figures his pocket kings are good.
And Jawanda comes right back with 2,000.
I'll go on.
Hartman very confident in those kings for 4,500 chips. He's going all in.
I hope he doesn't work for us because he's in a bad spot, and obviously he doesn't have John on the set of 8s. John might be worried that Hartman just made a set of 10s, but he's going to call the all-in.
And Hartman sees he needs some help on the river.
Yeah, king and king only will keep Hartman alive here at the World Series.
And the river card is a jack of hearts. John Juanda comes from behind to win the hand. Craig Hartman eliminated.
Good hand.
Can we get the hat back?
Good luck, Sam. Good luck, Jay.
Sometimes when going up against a king, kings aren't enough.
The World Series of Poker is brought to you by Milwaukee's Best Light. Milwaukee's Best Light, brewed for a man's taste. And Harrah's Entertainment. And the Toyota Tundra Double Cab, not just big, life-sized. The World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life. Main Event.
With a surprising number of entries this year, not all of the 2,500 plus players could immediately be seated when play began. The horseshoe filled to capacity. Players that signed up late were placed on an alternates list, given a number, and waited outside for a seat to become available.
We were technically sold out, 2,400 players. There's almost 100 people waiting outside. They're lined up, they're numbered 1 through 100.
82.
31.
47.
Yeah, we got a couple of guys here we need whack. The first guy that gets knocked out, I go in.
He was the first man out. Wally Zeemans, alternate number 1. Wally Zeeman. Your seat is open.
Put some money, man. $5 million.
Welcome to the big show, Wally. You're in with the big boys now. Hang on to those chips. At our featured table, we also have an alternate player. His name's Jeremy Tinsley from Houston, his first World Series of Poker. He's got a front row seat on Sam Farha.
Now, that's a Sammy I like to see. I came here, you look like, somebody slept with your girlfriend. All depressed looking. I don't believe in voodoo.
You will. You will when things changes right now.
Are we going to war? Are we going to war?
Not yet, it's too early. I don't have enough bullets to go to war.
Tinsley's quoting Sam Farha from last year.
Well, they're coming in off the street lawn and lining up to take their shots at Sammy.
How much?
I'm gonna make it 300.
Thomas Venus with a king-queen suited.
Tommy made it? Well, let's get it.
No, what?
His 300 chip bet is called by Sam Farha, who's got a pair of threes.
Yeah, Sammy hadn't seen a flop in at least a minute, Lon, so he's just wanting to get in.
Tinsley will fold over to Ed Smith. Smith with a king-9, couple of diamonds. And then Robert Martin with a queen-4, 2 clubs.
Well, it's turned into a home game.
They stacked it. A 4-way jump ball for the flop. Farha gets a trio of threes. Everybody checks to Sam.
I don't think I can give you a free card, boys.
Well, most people like to slow play a set on the flop, but other times, sometimes you bet it to eliminate competition in case someone's trying to sneak up your backside with a straight or something.
Farha throws 700 chips into the pot, and Smith goes away. Now to Robert Martin, and he will fold.
I hate you to my left.
Give it to me, I'll check. I'll check. Let him in.
Venus folds, Sammy wins it.
Show a bluff, come on.
I can't. You'll see it on TV. I should have checked, though.
I wish you would have.
3 threes, Tommy.
3 threes?
Yeah. What do you think I had? I wouldn't bet less than a set.
We can't trust you. We seen you on TV last year when you told Moneymaker you had pocket queens.
Well, I was tired that time.
Oh, you thought that's what you really had,
I didn't see my hand. I had queen 9. I thought I had 2 queens. What's the difference?
It's pretty close.
It's not a lie. You had half of the hand.
Of course, they're talking about Sam's memorable fib following Chris Moneymaker's legendary bluff during last year's final table.
In a tournament, you adjust your mind not to go broke.
Don't do it. Come on.
Chris Moneymaker going all in with nothing.
As a poker player, I read people really good.
Moneymaker bluffed at this once, and Farha came. He's now bluffing at it again.
At that moment, it was 50-50 in my eyes.
It's quite a predicament for Sammy. He has a pair of 9s. It's the best hand, but he can't know that.
I said, I can beat this guy. Let me lay it down.
He is not gonna do it.
That's the bluff of the century. What a play from Chris Moneymaker.
What bothered me is people talking about it. It's the best bluff of the year. The play was horrible, but I made the mistake, and I made the play look good. That's the difference.
Much as Sammy didn't like it, that quote-unquote horrible play worked against him.
Thomas Venus, a couple of 5s, he'll call the big blind. Wonder what Sam will do.
You call, I call.
Did you even look at your hand?
No. I don't have to.
No need to, is there?
No, for Sammy, the hand doesn't even begin till the flop hits.
Over to Tinsley, our alternate. He'll bet in the small blind, it's 2 4s.
And Wild Bill Hickok just trying to stay alive in the big blind.
That guy is dangerous.
He'll see the flop for free.
Ed Smith, 1 of 4 to see the flop. Tinsley lands a set of 4s. Everybody checks back to Sammy again.
So Tinsley's going to slow play his 4s like he's learned on TV.
300 from Sammy.
Yeah, Tinsley likes that. He got the pro to bet into him, and he's setting him up.
Tinsley calls, Smith folds, Venus folds. So 2 go to the turn.
Sammy's drawing dead. Tinsley's going to slow play it again.
You know I'm going to fire, right?
You don't have to. We're friends.
You made a good comment. Okay. It's a good one.
Sammy almost speechless.
Sammy is delighted to see a free card.
Rivers a 7 means nothing.
I know you wouldn't have checked if you would have had anything, though.
You made me check.
You could have bet.
You said we're friends, right?
Well, that's how you treat your people, though. Look how you do Tommy.
It's okay. You're gonna win a small one, but I'll get you in the big one. Just remember that.
Tinsley wins it.
I had it, Sammy. I had it.
It doesn't matter.
Drinks on the house, baby. Sammy!
Are we going to war?
The World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life. Main event.
Welcome back to the biggest event in poker history. We are in day 2 of round 1. The blinds are 100 and 200. Sam Farha looking at an ace-king suited. Of course, he's going to play it, and he will raise 600.
And with this biggest event, Lon, $5 million for first prize, double the first prize money that Chris Moneymaker won last year because the field is so huge.
3 times the field from last year. And they were thinking 1,200, 1,500 people. It started going over the 2,000 mark, and everybody's jaws dropped. Ed Smith calls, and now over to John Juanda in the big blind.
And he will call Sammy's raise.
So 3 to the flop, and Jawanda, wow, flops a king high straight.
But Farha is drawing to the best hand. He can get a flush, he can get a higher straight. He has a pair of kings. Plus, that was a good flop for Smith. He's got a pair of queens and a straight draw. Jawanda has bet 1,300.
And Sam Farha will call with his pair of kings and flush draw, and Smith will call as well.
That flop excited me so much, I might have to excuse myself. That was incredible. They all got a piece of it.
Turn card is a 3 of clubs, nothing that Sammy needs. Smith is drawing dead.
Meanwhile, Sammy's still got this monster draw. He can make the nut straight. He has a royal flush draw, even though he can't make the royal flush because Jawanda has the jack. And Sammy has top pair with kings, so he's got possibilities tumbling on top of possibilities. Wow, he gives it up. I mean, I can never give that up.
Ed Smith gives it up also. Sammy's asking for the rabbit card.
He wanted to see if he made his heart flush. He wouldn't have.
Jawanda wins the hand. And out of the outer table, something's going on. You get this many people in the room, there's bound to be some conflict.
No, that's not true. And don't push it back into the muck. You want to call a floor?
All right, call the floor.
And find out what the rule is?
Yes.
Okay, call a floor and I'll explain the rule to you.
That's how I learn.
Matt!
Well, looks like Annie Duke having a problem on one of the outer tables with Brett Youngblood.
Yeah, he violated some poker protocol with his hand.
You can't push the cards into the muck like that
She's
when
pretty
they're
upset.
clearly visible.
Pull them out.
2 Omaha high-low bracelet winners going at it here.
But you pushing them in, but you pushing it into the muck, that upsets me.
All right, I'm sorry.
I adore him, but you know.
She taught me how to play Omaha high-low.
I mean, I really do adore him, but that was, he knows he was out of line.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Your apology is accepted.
There are crimes and misdemeanors. What Brett did was just a misdemeanor. I think Annie may be overreacting.
Well, Annie schooled Brett, but she's also got a more famous pupil.
I've been teaching Ben Affleck to play poker this year. The first time I played with him, he wasn't a good player. I mean, you know, he was trying to play with the best professionals in the world and really had no experience and didn't really understand the game very well.
Play a lot of hands. I sure do.
I actually beat him out a lot of money. The first time I won like $20,000 the first night that I played with him. So I was like, wow, playing with celebrities is sure nice. This guy's bad.
It's all yours, Don. Take it away from me.
When I met him, he asked me if I gave lessons, and I said I would think about it. And I started teaching him. I said, all you ever do is bet. You just bet before the flop, bet after the flop, bet the turn, bet the river. Just totally unapplied aggression. And I just said, you have to stop that. He's a really incredibly smart person. I mean, I've given him a lot of pointers on what to look for, but he's really good at applying it, and he's become world-class, absolutely world-class.
Well, things seem to have calmed down at Annie Duke's and Brett Youngblood's table.
Annie still seems a bit dour, but when you push chips towards a player, that usually picks up their spirits.
Usually. Back to our featured table and the second half of the field, which was about 2,600 players strong. By the time we get to round 2, we'll be down to about 1,100.
Which is still more than we started with last.
That's amazing. Robert Martin called the big blind. And over to Sam Farha. He's got a suited 10-9.
I think Sammy has to see a certain quota of flops before he can go home each night.
I think it's 100% too, is the quota. John Caraway with an ace-queen unsuited will call. Joshua Wilson, who stacked the deck. 2 queens for Wilson.
He's going to play out of the small blind.
750. That's a raise over to Tinsley. Jacks, where's all this coming from?
And in the big blind, he's going to play.
And we've got 5 players in the hand right now.
You see the percentages next to each player's name? I have no idea what they mean. And look, now they're changing. I believe we're getting outlying precincts reporting from upstate.
Robert Martin will fold, so 4 players left to act. Farha called, now Caraway to act, and he will call as well, so 4 to the flop. And Tinsley flops another set. He's got jacks.
Lon, these flops are on steroids today.
Wilson bets 2,500 with his 2 queens, and now Tinsley raises 2,500.
Now Sammy got a part of the flop, but it was only a pair of 10s, and he's going to get out of the way.
Now over to Caraway,
who has just an inside straight draw, and he decides to get out of the way.
Now Wilson has to decide if he's going to call 2,500 more, and he will indeed. And now the turn card is an 8. Tinsley's still in commanding position here. Wilson checks.
Got the pocket queens, but he's wearing now Tinsley's raise on the flop.
And he should be. Tinsley goes all in with the 3 jacks.
I guess I gotta pay off the set.
Well, he's analyzed the hand right. He knows he's up against a set, so Tinsley's all in. The only way Wilson can send him home is with a 9 to make a straight. Remember, he can't get another queen. We saw the 2 other queens were out in other hands.
And now the river card, it's a king, and Tinsley wins again.
Scary there for a minute, Samito.
Tinsley wins the hand and survives his all in.
Looky, looky, looky what I found.
Caraway sulking. That river king would have given him the straight and sent Tinsley home.
The Toyota Points Leader is brought to you by Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized.
Let's take a look at our Toyota Player of the Year standings. Daniel Negreanu still leads, though he got knocked out of the main event in day 1. John Juanda at our feature table in 3rd position. But for any of these players still alive, they could win this award should they win the main event. And that includes Scott Fishman, the leading winner of the crew this year. Scott's been having a good day so far, and if he keeps it up, he's got a good chance of being our Player of the Year.
Scott's won 2 bracelets here this year. He has been in a zone this entire World Series. I would not bet against him.
Ted Forrest, who has also won 2 bracelets this year, is looking to win his first main event. Today, Ted has been struggling, and he's going to need to start winning a few pots to keep pace.
But Ted has proven that he's one of the best players in the world, either in tournaments or in cash games.
Back to our featured table, and the blinds continue at 100 and 200. And Sam Farha is still breathing, so
he'll probably want to see a flop.
Sam's got a couple of 6s. And he'll be in for 600. Martin Clark folds over to John Caraway, a business owner from Illinois. He's got a king 8 suited. Another one of the many players here whose poker experience comes via the internet. Caraway calls Sammy Farha. Wilson will fold, so the newbie and the veteran go into the flop. It comes out 4-4-3.
No help for either player. Caraway will check. Farha's 6s are still good right now.
6 again.
Sammy bet 600.
Caraway's reaching for chips. This would be a very loose call.
3,000.
Actually, he's raising. He's going to bluff. Sammy calls.
You gotta prove it, remember that.
Sammy doesn't believe he has it, and Sammy's right.
And now the turn card is a 10 of spades. Still no help. And Caraway's going to keep pushing.
1,000.
Yeah, he'll try to bluff at it again. Sammy's got his number, though. Sammy knows he has nothing, and Sammy calls.
And now the river card. Oh, it's an 8, and Caraway's been poking around in the dark, and he finally found something.
Say it ain't so. He's been betting with nothing and got lucky.
What the hell do you have?
What he has is unbelievable luck, as Sammy's going to find out, and he's not going to like to see this.
Small pair. Did I see it? Small pair at the end?
Sammy had it cased.
I'll tell you, you gotta stick with the internet. You'll be better off over there.
It looks just like it, though.
It's unbelievable, huh?
trying to bluff you out, but obviously you don't bluff.
You're shaking too much. You can't bluff somebody when you shake too much. That's why you're better off playing on the internet. Hey, buddy, you can't win it if you keep shaking up.
Sammy's burning. He read the internet rookie perfect the whole way. He lost in the lucky 8 on the river, and worst of all, Sam lost most of his chips.
Play in the dark, Sammy. It'll give everybody something to talk
on my
about.
big blind, I'll do that. Play it in the dark.
It'll give something to talk about. You know, everybody be talking about it. Especially if you come back and win. Think about the recognition you'll get.
Well, Sam looks to be on his last legs, and they just won't let him go peacefully. Couple of 8s.
All right, this is it.
Sam goes all in with his last 1,125 chips.
This is the big one. Get the camera here. Make sure you get this hand. I wouldn't have raised if I had the yellow chip.
I thought you had a yellow.
No.
Sam's played a lot of hands today. He's had the right instincts, but he hasn't had a whole lot of opportunity to really get going.
Over to Ed Smith.
How much is it, Sammy?
Don't call. Come on. You calling?
He's the guy who's haunted you all day, huh?
The whole table has surrounded Sam all day, and he hasn't had the cards to be able to fight back.
Ed Smith does, though.
Get the camera going, boys. It's the best hand all night long.
Sammy's 8s against Smith's kings.
Come on, Tommy. Oh, no, I got a pair for the first time.
No. Not much of one, though.
Oh, you got the real pair.
Ed Smith does,
I just
indeed.
sense an 8 coming.
Sammy's day in a nutshell. He finally has a decent hand, but he's up against a monster in a horrendous spot.
And the flop comes Queen 9-2. No help for Sammy.
A couple more nails in Sammy's coffin. He's going to need an 8 now to stay alive.
It seemed like this entire featured table was a posse out to get Sam Farha. Now they're one card closer to getting him.
It's coming. It's coming. I see it coming, boys.
There it is. There it is.
River cards a 3, and that's going to do it. Sam Farha's gone. And one of the most enduring figures of the 2003 World Series of Poker exits in round number 1.
Good job, Sam.
Ed Smith takes credit for the knockout.
Well, I had some hands, and I laid some hands also. And it's the table was great. I mean, I had a great table. I didn't have the luck, I guess.
Welcome back to the Horseshoe. Not only do people come from all over the country to play in the World Series, but they also come to watch the World Series. Some players, though, have a little more support than others, like Phil Ivey.
Yeah, he knows we're here.
How could he miss us? Everybody knows we're here.
Phil Ivey, I'm sure, enjoying his special rooting section, but would gladly trade their support for a few more chips right now. You see the concern on their face as Phil having a rough time of it on the outer tables.
This has been a weird World Series for Phil Ivey. He's been doing very well in cash games outside of the World Series, but in this tournament, he has not fared well in 2004.
And Phil Ivey has been knocked out of the 2004 World Series of Poker. Most players would want to slink away anonymously after being knocked out, but Phil will take solace in knowing his fans love him, win or lose. Day 2 of round number 1, blinds 150 and 300, and we've got a whole set of new players at our featured table now as they do move players around during tournament action. Chris Jesus Ferguson, one of them. Chris set the World Series record for most finishes in the money last year with 8, and he'll bet 700 with his 2 9s.
Nice to see a former champion here, Lon. You know, I was going to play this year, but 1, I don't need the $5 million first prize, and 2, I didn't have the entry money.
Table is folding around the horn over to Jeff Wood from Knoxville, Tennessee, and he will call with his King 8 suited. Over to John Cernuto.
Lon, I have never trusted Miami John. Born in New Jersey, moved to Las Vegas, and his name is Miami John. You tell me.
Not from Ohio either.
He does call, and we have 3-way action going to the flop.
And to the flop, and a pair of 6s for Cernuto, and he will check.
He got the best part of the flop, though, the pair and a flush draw.
Everybody checks over to Wood, and he too will check. We go to the turn, the ace of clubs, no help. Nobody's got much of anything.
Well, the 9s are best, but Cernuto's going to fire at this pot right now, try to take it down, hope the ace scares other people. He still has the flush draw. And now Jesus double checking his pocket pair, and he mucks the best hand at the moment.
The decision now for Jeff Wood on whether or not to call the 600 from Miami John. Wood decides to fold. And the rabbit cam shows that Wood would have beaten Miami John. And if he'd stayed in the hand, so too would Chris.
3 of a kind, boys.
3 of a kind? I told you not to trust this guy.
Out of the outer tables, let's catch up with John Juanda, who was at our featured table earlier today. John looks like he's built up his stack just a little bit since he left us, but he's been raised here near the end of this hand.
Jawanda should always be a player of the year for Milan because he plays a number of games well. Omaha, Hold'em, and Stud. Right here, he'll muck his cards.
And we check in once again with Ray first, having matched and surpassed his 11-minute goal that he set for himself. He's looking to survive the rest of the day. He's got a King 8 suited, but it runs into a couple of queens, and Ray first will lose that hand. His chip stack getting a little bit low, so he might have to play a little tighter to make it to tomorrow. Back now to our featured table.
Well, I'm going to write my book. You guys are going to read it. I survived Chris Ferguson. I survived the sandwich, I'm going to say.
Well, it's not over. You got another 38 minutes.
We got 38 minutes?
Don't start that book for another 38 minutes. That's all I got to say.
Oh, we still have 38 minutes? I spoke too soon. I thought it was over 1. I was planning not to play another hand.
You didn't get a good seat, did you?
No. Yeah.
That is Hollywood Tony Caden, and he is sandwiched in between Chris Jesus Ferguson and Miami John Cernuto, a couple of heavyweight pros.
And as we just heard, he's doing research on his I Survived Chris Ferguson book, due out shortly.
Our blinds are at 200, 400, Miami John, 2-act. He's got a Jack 10. He'll call the big blind. Over to Hollywood Tony, he's got a 7-5 suited. He's playing in his first World Series of Poker, and he'll call. Jesus with a King 6, 2 clubs. He calls.
He comes in for half price in the small blind.
There's Sidney Feingold with a Queen 8.
Not much, but he's in the big blind. Oh, the 2-finger check. Very distinctive.
It's a toss-up now with 4 players going to the flop. Ferguson with a pair of kings.
But he's going to check. The aces on board have got to worry him. Anyone with an ace in the hole is going to beat him.
Miami John now to act, and he will bet 600 to Hollywood Tony.
Well, if he calls here, it diminishes his chances, I believe, of surviving Chris Ferguson and writing that big book.
7-5 is not good enough to hang around. He does fold. Now to Jesus. He'll make the call. And Feingold will fold his Queen 8. So 2 left for the turn. Cernuto and Ferguson, and the 7 of hearts doesn't help.
Miami John didn't want any callers when he bet. Oh, he's like waving the white flag there. I think he should have bet again, probably.
Miami John pairs his jack, but it's not enough.
I'm absolutely done with it. I check.
Jesus wins it.
Can't beat it. Make sure. I can't beat it.
He is indeed sure. Miami John was able to muscle Chris Ferguson out of the previous hand, but this time, Jesus sticks around, and his 2 kings are good enough to win it.
It was either hammer him back all the way and go home or stay to play another day. I didn't know. That was my choice, and I thought.
Go write your book.
Yeah, go and write the book. And I thought, if I don't get.
I think you should have hammered him.
The World Series of Poker Tournament Champions, an ESPN special event. 10 of the world's top rounders will be chosen to ante up for $2 million.
To the room, passing out $100 bills in this town.
Winner.
Here comes the river card. The whole house. And that is it.
The World Series of Poker Tournament Champions. Tuesday, September 21st at 9 p.m. Only on ESPN. Deal.
The World Series of Poker is brought to you by Milwaukee's Best Light. Milwaukee's Best Light, brewed for a man's taste. And Harris Entertainment. And Levitra. Ask your doctor about it today. Levitra, when it counts.
This is the greatest event in the history of mankind.
The strongest players in the world have come together.
This is the most prestigious event ever.
To decide once and for all who is the best of the best.
It's going to be the hardest mentally tough thing I've probably ever done in my life.
This is poker at its highest level. This is blind man
bluff. It's going to be a war.
We're down to 3 finalists in Blind Man's Bluff. You know how to play, just like Texas Hold'em. You're the only one that does not see your hole cards. And now we have Cloney Gowan, Chris Moneymaker, Amir Vahity left.
I've seen Amir make a lot of final tables, but he bluffs away a lot of his chips a lot of the times.
Moneymaker's got nothing. Vahity's got nothing. Gowan with a 9-2. Now that's a nice hand.
Oh, why don't I just leave you two alone for crying out loud? Moneymaker bets. Oh, Amir's raising as usual, raising with nothing.
Cloney all in with the 9-2.
We got those are 3 bad hands.
Moneymaker's a Johnny-come-lately anyway.
Yeah, he came in midway through this championship. He just walks in like he was one of the Rockefellers.
Here it comes. I told you 9-2 was perfect. 2 pair for Cloney.
That's absurd. Amir's going home now.
Another 9 divine 9.
Oh, jeez, Lon. Someone's dealing off the bottom of the deck. The ladies winning every hand.
Amir drawn dead and eliminated. Is this rigged so the pretty face gets in the winner's circle?
I'm rooting for Moneymaker now.
I hope so. Back at our featured table of the World Series of Poker, day 2 of round 1. Chris Sundberg from Florida and his first World Series of Poker. You know where he learned to play, Norm, by the way?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Online. Sundberg with 2 threes calls the big blind with 400 over to Miami John Cernuto,
who actually plays a lot online, one of the pros who loves to play online.
Ace King.
Gonna raise it.
He's going to raise. And he'll raise 2,000.
Cernuto has been the most aggressive player at this table, pushing his hands.
And that forces a lot of people to push their hands into the muck. And Robert Rivetto takes a look. Doesn't like what he sees either. Back to Sundberg, whether or not to call the raise from Cernuto.
I'm all in.
All in.
Well,
he didn't have a whole lot left.
1350 more.
Miami John will need 1,350 more to call the all-in from Chris Sundberg.
I think he will. And if for some reason he's short on chips, I'll lend him the money.
See 5 cards.
Sundberg bemoaning the fact he got a caller. And now the flop, and a set of 3s for Sundberg.
Not too many 3s, wow.
Miami John wanted to see 5 cards, Lon, but he didn't want to see a 3.
And now the turn card, a 9 of diamonds, and that actually wins the hand for Sundberg.
No win for me. Nice hand.
Well, Miami John's aggressive play doesn't pay off there, but I still think he mutters better than anybody else in poker.
Sundberg doubles up. Day 1 at the World Series is all about survival, and Scott Fishman is doing just that on the outer tables in his first main event.
Hey, look, he's multitasking. He can hold his breath and win a hand at the same time.
They trade those crew members so well. Another crew member, Dutch Boyd, not having as much fun as Scott Fishman. Dutch Boyd finished 12th in the main event last year. Right now he's up against newcomer Davin Anderson. Anderson with a couple of kings, and that's going to win the hand for him.
Yes! Yes! Wow. We're gambling!
Davin Anderson, one of our chip leaders today. Dutch Boyd is not. And the long day continues for our featured table players. Day 2 of round number 1. Action over to Bob Rivetto.
I'm sorry. Everybody up.
Long days.
Everybody up. Everybody up.
He's got an ace king. He'll call the big blind with 400 chips.
I got daydream out there. Getting late. You can tell it's getting late.
Here's your stat of the day, Lon. 5 of the 9 players at this table are wearing sunglasses. And to be honest with you, it is pretty sunny in here.
Well, Hollywood, Tony, of course, is going to wear the sunglasses. He'll fold. Over to Chris Ferguson, a 7-2 offsuit. We love this hand.
Well, he's in the small blind, and he's a little bored because he's going to play.
Sidney Feingold, Jack 2. He is the big blind.
There's that stylish 2-finger check. I'm going to pick that up.
3 to the flop. And it comes out. 10, Queen 8. Rivetto picks up a straight draw. Ferguson checks. Feingold checks, as does Rivetto. And the turn card, a 10 of hearts. Rivetto still leads with the ace high.
And Jesus making a move. And with the worst hand you can have in Hold'em, the 7-2 offsuit, he senses weakness elsewhere and is going to try to bluff his way to this win.
1,000 chips makes Feingold fold. Rivetto will call it.
Yeah, he got rid of one, but he didn't get rid of the other.
And the river card is a jack. Rivetto makes a straight.
Well, Jesus has a problem. It looks like he's going to bluff at this again. He bets 2,000. The other guy is not going to go anywhere. He's got very few chips, and he's got the straight. So Rivetto will call. Jesus will be caught trying to steal from the collection plate.
Rivetto flips his card, shows the winning straight to Jesus.
Good call, you got me. You got me.
And Jesus had to play that bluff all the way through to the end, I guess.
But at the end of a long day, he made a mistake. He picked a bad time and a bad spot against a man with very few chips.
I remembered in the book all those pocket aces you got, and you haven't had any I've seen tonight. So.
Well, if Hollywood Tony wants to survive Jesus and write the book, maybe it's best he just leave him be right now. There's a lot of poker left. Action on the outer tables. There you see John Juanda, who was at our featured table earlier today. He's got about 35,000 chips and going all in now with a couple of nines, but he's in trouble, Norm.
And he won't know how much trouble it is until Lucy Rokash turns over her pocket aces. And he'll see he's in deep, deep trouble, and he's going to be leaving this tournament unless he can get a 9.
And now the flop comes. Ouch, another ace.
John all but dead, and now he is drawing dead on the turn with the 3 coming up, and she puts an unnecessary final nail in the coffin. 4 aces to knock out John Juanda.
And somehow I don't think this 3-time bracelet winner John Juanda was meant to win this hand against Lucy Rokash. Juanda gone from the tournament.
Sucks, have to wait another year, but you know, only one person can win the tournament.
The World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life Main Event.
Very late in the evening here at the Horseshoe Casino. A number of players already knocked out, but Ray First is still alive, but he's all in here.
He's on life support line. He's got 8-7 offsuit against a pair of 4s.
Rafe is trailing with his tournament life on the line. Flop has come out. The turn is a king. No help to him. And the 2 of clubs is going to end this tournament for Rafe First.
How long did it take for him to get knocked out this time?
About 10 hours.
Put it in your nose. I do it all the time.
Lasted longer than last year by quite a bit, so.
I guess if he brought a pillow, he did expect to last longer this year.
Back at our featured table, there is Hollywood Tony Caden, and he's about to make that prophecy come true. He said he'd survive the day against Chris Jesus Ferguson. We are on the last hand of the level. The day will end after this, and he's close to making it.
He is. And you look around, you see a very bedraggled group, tired from a very long, long day of poker.
With the table folding their hands over to Hollywood Tony. And what a way to go out. A couple of bullets in the hole. And he'll bet 1,200 to Ferguson.
Jesus is in the big blind with king-queen offsuit.
The last thing we heard from Hollywood Tony, he was needling Chris about not getting aces. Now it's Hollywood who's got the aces in the hole.
Yes, Tony was needling Chris, but that won't influence Chris's play. He stays on a very even keel emotionally. He will call the bet.
So our flop will be Caden and Ferguson. And it comes out 5-8 king. Chris gets a pair of kings.
But he's still well behind in the hand to Caden's pocket aces. Caden's gonna bet 3,000. Frankly, a bet that seems designed to induce a call from Jesus.
Anything more might have scared Ferguson away, and Chris will call. And now the turn card. It's a 4 of clubs, no help, and Caden still firmly in the lead and one step closer to taking a big chunk out of Chris Ferguson's stack. And he comes in with 7,000 chips.
It makes a bigger bet this time, but a bet that is, again, designed perhaps to have Jesus call. Jesus is going to think about calling. He's got top pair, a pair of kings right now. Doesn't know he's up against pocket aces. You know, I root from the press box, and I really want Jesus to get out of this hand, Lon, so I'm going to go down to the table and tell him to buck his cards. Do you mind?
Still king, queen.
I don't know why he double checks them. He's got the best memory of anyone I've ever met. He knows what they are.
Chris,
do it, buddy.
He's reaching, and Chris Ferguson raises. And Hollywood, Caden comes right back all in.
So Caden will risk all his chips. He is a big favorite right now. If he just avoids a king or a queen on the river, he will be able to survive the day, survive Jesus, and go write the book, which I'm sure will be number 3 on the bestseller list.
Hollywood Tony and Chris Ferguson, 1 card to go. The river card is a king, and Ferguson wins it with 3 of a kind. Hollywood Tony, Caden knocked out, and he is stunned.
It took a miracle for Jesus to knock him out.
You got a story.
Yeah, there's my story.
Put it your
It's not the story he wanted to write, and as it turns out, Hollywood Tony Caden did not survive Chris Jesus Ferguson today.
I was waiting all night for that hand.
Be careful what you wish for.
On the last hand of a very long day, Hollywood Tony was this close to surviving.
Tony was talking the talk, but now he's going to have to walk a walk he didn't want to make.
And Chris Jesus Ferguson a lot healthier than he thought he would be. Day 2 was all about perseverance.
It's just a matter of survival.
Many of poker's elite are still in the hunt.
How's your boy?
As are some new faces that emerged.
Pretty sure we didn't make it right. Luck has been on my side all day long.
We said goodbye to people we knew, and some we never had time to know. We're one day closer to crowning a new world champion, but it's a long road, and right now anyone has a chance to win the big one. For Norman Chad, I'm Lon McCarran. See you next time for the World Series of Poker.
All right, see you guys next year. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.